their wives have sense like them. They see and smell and have their palates. In your mouth, do you have a palate for taste? Can you feel your palate in your mouth? And they have palates both for sweet and sour, as husbands have. What is it that they do when they change us for others? Is it sport? Sport? What does she mean by sport? Playing tennis? Playing cricket? It means sex. It means having fun. It's another word for having fun. I'm having sport. I'm enjoying myself with other women. Is it sport? I think it is. And doth affection breed it? What is affection? Passion, feeling, emotion, affection. Yes, of course. I think it doth, says Amelia. Yes. Is it frailty that thus errs? Frailty is a synonym of weakness. Is it their weakness that makes them err to go with other women, to make mistakes, to go with other women? It is so too, she says, yes. This is true of men. They like sport. They're weak. They succumb to temptation. Like Oscar Wilde said. What did Oscar Wilde say? I can resist everything except temptation. And Amelia is saying the same. She's saying, we have not, we, women, affections? Do we or not? Do you have these feelings? Of course you do. Desires for sport? Is she talking about playing tennis? No. Frailty, as men have? Yes, she's saying. Conclusion. Then let them use us well. To use us well. To respect us. Okay? Else let them know the ills we do, their ills instruct us so. So if we go off with other men, where did we learn this lesson from? From our husbands. You see this voice of Amelia who says in the play, I will not hold my tongue, she says. Like Desdemona holds her tongue and she pays for it. So Shakespeare is doing this. This is why I love Shakespeare, why he's special. He gives women and their position in society of those days a voice. And it's a powerful voice, a strong voice. Okay, that's the introduction. Shall we go on? Are you ready? Any questions so far? I've just given you a little idea of why this great writer is great. Let's go now to a little game. I'll show you some pictures. You have to tell me who these women are. 1 point for you if you get it, 1 point for me if you don't. Are you ready? Which unruly woman do you think this is? Lady Macbeth. Well done. 1 point for you with the great Judi Dench. This one. From The Taming of the Shrew. Catherine. Well done. She's a real unruly woman. This one. Juliet. Is she unruly? Well, I'll show you later why she's very unruly. Much more unruly than Romeo. She's young. How old is she?
14.
She's 14. She's 14 in the play. And we'll see what courage this young girl has when she decides to go with this young man. Again, from the wrong family. But she's very unruly. And this one we've just been talking about, from Othello. Desdemona. This is the same actress, Maggie Smith, and here she's playing in The Merchant of Venice. Portia, well done. You've got Portia. Jessica is her friend in The Merchant of Venice. Jessica is the daughter of Shylock. So she's a very special woman too. We shall see later why. The question mark means it's for you to answer. This one is from Twelfth Night, a comedy. What's her name? Viola. Very good. Viola, Viola. Thank you. You're very good. You've got all of them so far. She's very special. Notice, she's disguised. She's changed her clothes to become a man. She's wearing men's clothes. And disguise in Shakespeare is very important. It's usually women who wear men's clothes. Why? It's not sexual exactly, although it can be sexual, but it's mostly a device for allowing women to speak in the voice of men when they wear a man's clothes. So she becomes Cesario. Viola is Cesario. We have both the woman's voice, because she's a woman, Viola, but she's also a man, pretending to be a man, so we get the masculine and the feminine together. And Shakespeare does this a lot, where women are disguised as men. Very important. And again, he does it in As You Like It. The biggest part for a woman in Shakespeare's plays is from As You Like It. And she, the heroine, is Rosalinda. And she's also disguised as a man. She goes into the forest, and when they're disguised, they kind of become different people, liberated. Their voice kind of becomes more expressive, richer when they are disguised as men. Oh, the trick question. This is a man, but he's playing the part of a woman, and he's black. Yeah. And it's at the Globe Theatre in London. Has anybody been to the Globe in London? You've been? Yeah. Well, this is a performance where the role of Rosalind was played by a man, as was the case originally. You know, in Shakespeare's plays, all the women's parts were played by men. Yeah. I don't think they were black, but it's just another layer of ambiguity, let's say. But this is the tradition, that men played the parts. And this is in the Globe, where they carried on with the tradition. So it's not unusual. Okay. And again, the great actor, what's his name, who won the Oscar recently? What's his name now? He's played Cleopatra anyway. Again, at the Globe, played by a man. Cleopatra, played by a man. They're all unruly women. And remember, we began with these lines. And I said to you, one reason why Shakespeare is special, he rejects the traditional, conventional, hypocritical way of talking about women. He says, no, my woman is nothing like that. And all these traditional comparisons don't apply. Not to her. She lives in the real world. My mistress, when she walks, treads on the ground. Okay? So this is one surprising feature we find in Shakespeare. His courage in speaking honestly about the nature of human beings, and women in particular. And then I said to you, well, there's another layer. In the same sonnets, we have the poem addressed to a man. That's the mistress of my passion. So he tells us that this man, we have a picture of him here, there he is, probably the Earl of Southampton was his patron, and perhaps he was in love with him, we don't know. But most of the poems in the sonnets are addressed to this man. He is the master mistress. You see, they found this painting of him recently, and you notice his dress almost like a woman. This is a painting from the Elizabethan times. The Earl of Southampton. There he is. Okay? He's the subject of most of the sonnets. The fair youth of the sonnets is probably this guy. And this is the boy act. And I said to you, it's important to remember that the women in Shakespeare's plays were played by young men, boys, so their voice will not have broken, so they could have this high-pitched, female-sounding voice. So all the great parts, like these, which we've mentioned, were played by men. Okay, this is important because it tells us why his women, why Shakespeare's women are such rich characters. They're often much more interesting than the men, and we can begin to see why. And this is an early example. We said from the Comedy of Errors, Adriana asks this fundamental question. Why should men have more freedom than we? And it's a question, as we shall see, that Shakespeare asks again and again. There's the conventional view, her sister is the bridle of your will. It's his job to control you. And Adriana rejects this claim. She says, only donkeys will be bridled, sir, only asses. I'm not an ass, I'm not a donkey. I'm a human being, she's saying. You see, it's so simple, and yet so important. And this is our Shakespeare. We come to this concept of duty, which we saw. But this is from an early play. Such duty as the subject owes the prince, even such a woman owes her husband. Agree or disagree? Hands up if you agree with this. That women owe duty to their husbands like a subject owes duty to the queen, to the king. Hands up if you agree. You don't agree?
No.
You don't owe duty to your husbands or your future? Really? I'm surprised.
We're not married.
Well, Katerina from Taming of the Shrew was not married either. And she, if you remember the story very briefly, this guy, Petruchio, wants to marry her. Why does he want to marry the lovely Elizabeth Taylor?
She's rich.
She's rich. He wants her dowry. And he admits he is a dowry hunter. He says, I will wive it wealthily in Padua. What language? Wive, I will find a wife, wealthily, to make money, in Padua. And it sums it up. And the wonderful Katerina, for me, wonderful, she says, no, thank you. I don't want this man. Okay? The mystery, though, is she fights him, she resists him, she kicks him, he kicks her. They have a real battle. If you've ever seen the film or know the story, it's a real battle of the sexes. But the odd thing is, she gives in at the end. She agrees to marry him. She's been bullied and abused so much. In the end, she gives up. And she says these words. And for me, it's always a mystery of what Shakespeare means when, having shown you a woman rebelling, standing up for herself, speaking in her own voice, fighting back. At the end, she gets down on her knees and she says to the women in the audience these words. There is an explanation, but it's certainly a bit puzzling that Shakespeare allows her to be defeated like this. And we're not convinced, are we, that she believes that you owe duty to your husband. Because everything in the play, Taming of the Shrew, and everything that follows in Shakespeare's career tells us the opposite. You'll see what I mean. Juliet. Take Juliet, which comes after Taming of the Shrew. Spread thy close curtain, love performing night. Simple words. Who is speaking them? Juliet is waiting for Romeo. She's waiting for the first night of love with Romeo. Romeo and Juliet is not a romantic play. It's got nothing to do with romance. It's about passion. It's about sex. She is waiting to have sex with Romeo. So she says these words, and she continues to explain to us how anxious she feels about, she's 14 years old, remember? Yeah. She's never done this before. And he's climbing into her bedroom, if you remember, Leonardo DiCaprio, okay? Yeah. And this is what she says. Listen to her words. What is she talking about? Who is the stronger of the two, Romeo or Juliet? She says, gallop apace. Gallop? You know gallop.
Yeah.
Apace means quickly. Gallop quickly. She's talking to the night, to the lights, to the sky. Gallop apace, ye fiery-footed steeds. Steeds is a synonym for horses, okay? And bring in cloudy night immediately. She's appealing to time to bring in the night and the darkness quickly. Why does she want it to be dark?
She can't wait to...
She can't wait to make life. And she's ashamed as well, though. She's anxious, she's embarrassed, she's sensitive. And the night, of course, is the moment for making love, but it also hides her sense of shame. So that's why she gives us this wonderful poem to the night. And Romeo is on the way. Spread thy close curtain, love performing night. Come, civil knight, learn me how to lose a winning match. Play for a pair of stainless maiden hoods. Maiden hoods. So she's telling us that both she and Romeo are virgins. They've never done it. This is what the play is about. And this is why her father, too, the Montagues and the Capulets, Capulet, remember? He also threatens Juliet. Her father, like Brabantio, like all of these fathers, threatened their children, their female children. Her dad calls her baggage. When she resists him, because he, the father, wants her to marry another man. Paris. His name is Paris, because he's handsome, he's rich, he's from the right family. He's okay, but she doesn't want Paris. She's not in love with him. She's in love with Romeo. And her dad says to her, baggage. You know what baggage is? You're just property. You're my property. And he tells her, I will do what I like with you. Okay? And because it's her passion, which is out of control. He can't control her. And she's going to spoil his plans for the family. So there she is, the lovely Juliet. But she's a very powerful character, not romantic. And of course, this conflict between property, because her father wants to secure the property of the family and the reputation of the family, and passion, they clash and they end in death. This is the tragedy of Romeo and Juliet. But there is an escape. In some plays, which are not tragedies but comedies, Shakespeare gives us a way out. The young couples can escape and make their dreams come true. Where do they go to make their dreams come true?
In the woods.
Often they go to the woods. The wood is a magic place where dreams are free. So which play are we going to look at briefly?
Midsummer Night.
A Midsummer Night's Dream. You see, we have again, we saw Hermia, I told you, either agree to marry Demetrius or abjure forever the company of men or die the death, remember? That's how it begins. They're going to kill her. There she is, Hermia. But Shakespeare in this play does something different. He says, okay, we have a conflict here between the patriarchs and the property that they believe in, okay? And they threaten the younger generation with this power that they have. In this play, though, the young generation go off to the wood to be free. What happens in the wood? Crazy things happen. Do you remember? We have several couples. We have two couples, Lysander, Demetrius, Hermia, and Helena. And there in the wood, if you remember, there's a magic potion, which Robin Goodfellow, Puck, he puts on the eyes of the lovers. You remember? And when they wake up, the first person or thing they see, they will fall in love with. And this is why the two couples start mixing up. I don't know if you have this experience of falling in love with people suddenly, from one to the other, and you don't know why this is happening. You don't control love, do you? It's the potion, metaphorically speaking, it's the potion of love. And it's so irrational. That's why it's in the world of dreams. It's what Freud would say, in our subconscious. And Freud would also understand what Shakespeare does with this character. Who is this? And who is this? Michel Pfeiffer, yes.
Titania and Oberon?
Very good. It's Titania. This is not Oberon. Oberon is her husband. And to get revenge on her husband, who does she fall in love with?
With a donkey.
With Bottom. Bottom is a clown. He's a working man. He goes into the forest with his friends to perform a play, to rehearse a play. And she, Titania, remember, has quarreled with Oberon. They're fighting over a little boy. Notice the symbolism. The little Indian boy. They both want the little Indian boy. But anyway, they quarrel. And to get revenge on her, Oberon gets Puck, the fairy, to put the magic potion over her eyes. So she will wake up and fall in love with an animal. Well, she falls in love with a donkey, with Bottom, the weaver. So in the wood, dreams are free. You dream of people that you would never fall in love with in the real world. In your dreams, you fall in love, or not. Have you ever had that experience in your dreams? You say, what? I was in love with X, but I can't stand them. But it's in the dream. And this is what Shakespeare is illustrating, where the queen of the fairies, the beautiful Michel Pfeiffer, falls in love with the donkey. Let's go to another place, see women unruly in another sense. Do you know this speech, where it's from? Very famous speech. It's about justice now. We have the law. We have justice. We have debts. It could be King Lear, you're right. But it's actually in the Merchant of Venice. where, if you remember, Shylock, the moneylender, lends some money to one of the young men, Bassanio and Antonio, and they make a deal. You give me this money back when your ships come in with all their wealth, but if you don't have the money, you can't pay your debt, let's make a little deal just for fun. Just for fun. And they sign a contract with Shylock, the moneylender, the creditor, which says, you will give me from your body a pound of flesh, which I can cut from whichever part of your body I want, says the moneylender to the person who's borrowing money. And of course, this is what happens, as you know. And the moneylender, Shylock, insists on implementing the agreement, the letter of the law. I want my money. You can't give me my money, I'll take your flesh. But what does it mean if you take the man's flesh? He's dead. You kill him. If he takes a pound of his flesh, he's going to kill him. So they go to court, and Shylock is about to take the pound of flesh, because the law of Venice is on his side. That's what the law says. They respected money in Venice. Money was important. So you had to defend the right of the creditors to have their money. But Maggie Smith, or Portia, I should say, she gets disguised. She disguises herself as a man, a judge. And she goes to the court and she plays the part of the judge. And she implements the law. She says to Shylock, yes, the law is on your side. But let's stick to the law. If you cut him and you spill his blood or kill him, you're breaking the law. Because the contract doesn't say you can kill him. It says, according to the letter of the law, that you just take the pound of flesh. We'll take it. But if you dare to drop a drop of his blood or kill the man, then you will be guilty and you will be punished. And she makes this speech, the quality of mercy is not strained. So what she's doing is, she's adding to the law the whole question of pity, compassion, feeling sorry for another human being and their right to live. The quality of mercy is not strained. It droppeth as the gentle rain from heaven upon the place beneath. It is twice blessed. It blesseth him that gives and him that takes. So yes, the law may allow you to be cruel, but as a human being, you show mercy. And that's the wonderful Portia who implements this solution to the problem. Marrying the law and compassion. And it's the woman, notice, who does it. And it's the woman in this play, all the world's a stage and all the men and women mere players. You know this famous saying from Shakespeare? It's from As You Like It. In As You Like It, again, we have a forest. We have women, Rosalind and Celia, cousins, who are threatened by the state with death. Rosalind is threatened by her uncle with death for matters of property. It's to do with power, property, money. And she decides to escape to the forest, and her cousin Celia goes with her. They decide, however, to dress up as men. Okay? And this is Rosalind dressed up as a man. And what we see is, oh yes, this is her uncle telling her, you're going to die if you stay in my court. So that's why she decides to escape. What role is she going to play? Oh yes, her very silence and her patience speak to the people and they pity her. So the voice of the woman, even when she's silent, says her uncle is a threat to him. So he wants to get rid of her. That's the background to the story. And she goes into the forest and she's dressed up as a man. His name is Ganymede. And thou art a man. So we have a male and female in the same character. And we see Rosalind making, she takes the initiative. What we see in brief is that this woman, Rosalind, is the one who speaks more than anybody. She has a louder voice and a more articulate voice than all the other characters. And she's the one, if you like, who will resolve all the problems. But bearing in mind that she's dressed up as a man. And this reminds us, as I said, of the sonnets and the Master Mistress, where we have the same character, both as man and woman, who is making love to a man and also flirting with women too. So we have sexual gender bending, if you like. There's something interesting though in these women characters. When they're dressed as men, as I've said, they speak freely. And here is Viola from Twelfth Night. And again, she's dressed up as a man. She speaks and speaks. She takes initiative. She has power. She has authority. She has humor. But as the play progresses, we find that this man, who's also a woman, when she dresses up as a woman again, she says much less. The point I wanted to make here is that when she's dressed up as a man, her voice is free. She's free to express herself. When we see her at the end being married off to this character, Orsino, who's a very boring and uninteresting character compared to her, she becomes quiet. So it's an interesting transformation. Dressed as a man, you speak. Dressed as a woman, you speak much less. And we come to the end, towards Shakespeare's later plays. We find Desdemona, and we saw the key to a lot of these dilemmas and problems that women face is their sense of duty towards the male when they are in their conventional role of the good daughter, the good wife. And we saw how important these words like duty are. But however, we saw Emilia, the servant lady, who says, I am not going to be silent, I will speak. Okay? And this is what we saw her saying, comparing the needs of women to the needs of men, and suggesting that they have equal or similar needs, passions, feelings, and rights. So this is a very memorable scene in Othello, where this wonderful character of Emilia takes us back to the beginning of Shakespeare's career, where he asked this question with which I began. Why should their liberty than ours be more? So you see what I mean when I say he asks this question at the beginning of his career, and he continues to ask it right at the end with Othello, with King Lear, with the Tempest. This is the Tempest, and Miranda, you remember? Miranda who says, oh brave new world that hath such people in it. They're on a desert island, you remember? And this innocent young girl who's finding herself, her identity, her voice, sees the world around her and realizes how wonderful and beautiful it can be. So the word brave here means wonderful, beautiful. So this is Shakespeare, and our revels now are ended, our session now, this talk is nearly finished. I just wanted to show you why some of these issues are still relevant today in the 21st century. Even today, you see, in Scotland a few years ago, they passed a law. You see what the law says? That forced marriage has no place in the 21st century. What we saw in Shakespeare, in all of these plays, comedies and tragedies, is basically forced marriage. Now, they had to pass a law in Scotland recently to stop this from happening in certain cultures. In the United Kingdom, well, it's still the United Kingdom for now, this law will mean that victims of forced marriage will no longer be alone and have to suffer in silence. And there's that key word again, silence and voice. So what I'm saying is that what I like about Shakespeare, I wanted to share with you, is the wonderful, moving way he gives women so many centuries ago a voice, and such a clear, powerful voice, that they should not suffer. And sadly, today, these issues are still with us. By passing this law, the Scottish government has given a voice to a silent minority. So I hope we agree that they should no longer be a silent minority, they're probably a majority anyway, but that women deserve to have a voice. And Shakespeare and literature can often still be a source of insight and inspiration in dealing with these issues that we still face today. Okay, any questions, any queries? That's basically what I wanted to say to you for today, but perhaps you want to ask me some questions about what we've said. Any queries? Anything which wasn't clear? Yes.
Like we see all these revolutionary women that they try to speak and go against some
Conventions.
yes. But in the end, they still get some sort of defeated. Why does this happen?
It's a good question, isn't it? The question was, we see these women, and I've shown you examples of women fighting back, resisting, finding a voice, but you're saying they seem to lose it again. At the end of the day, nothing has changed, perhaps, or not much has changed. And I think you're right. At the end of the day, Shakespeare is imagining an alternative world. So his plays, like all good poetry, like all good theatre, gives us alternatives. But he doesn't change, he doesn't pretend that the society he lived in can be changed so easily. What he's good at, I think, Mariam, is sensing the problem and expressing the problem. In a sense, it's the politicians, it's the movements, the social movements, and the campaigns which draw strength from great writers like Shakespeare. I suppose their job, Mariam, is not to show women living an unreal existence, because if he showed women being liberated, it wouldn't really have matched the reality that was still the case in his society. But what he has done is raise the questions, and he raises the questions in his poetry, we saw, My Mistress' Eyes Are Nothing Like the Sun, and in his plays time and time again. And if in later centuries laws were passed, and we know they were, to give suffrage, to give the vote and equality to women, it may well be, because in that culture you had writers like Shakespeare, like Jane Austen, like Dickens, and all these poets. That's, I think, perhaps their job. That's all I would say. That they can't change society or show you a society which is not real. They use their imagination, so the wood, the forest, the islands, and all these strange places Shakespeare takes his characters to, show you the possibility of an alternative reality. And he puts it into language, into character, into poetry. And if he showed you what you're suggesting, that something is different at the end, that the women don't kind of go back to where they were at the beginning, I don't know, perhaps it would not be honest, it wouldn't be realistic. I know what you mean. Is that what you're getting at?
Yes, but like now I have a different question. Like if he ended up showing, at least in one of his plays, that with that woman that fights against this, what men want, and she wins, he could present a reality like it is today, that women also have a voice.
Well, he does in a way. In for example, The Merchant of Venice, Portia solves the problem of the money, the debt, and she marries the man she wants to marry. What's his name? Bassanio. So he shows us a woman who is in control of her life. She's actually in control of the lives of others through the court case that we saw.
But she still pretends to be a man. Yeah. Or else
well, she takes the clothes off, if you see what I mean. At the end, she becomes a woman again. They all, you can't show, well, I was going to say you can't show women continuing to dress as men. But the fact is, in Elizabethan times, there were women who did dress as men. They were, you know, gay, I suppose, what we would say today. And they did dress as men every day, as a custom. Okay, so I'm sure Shakespeare knew this, but he uses the convention of the boy actor who plays women, who therefore dresses as a man, to say things which perhaps otherwise he wouldn't have been able to say. They do take the costume off, if you like, and become women again, because that's what would happen in everyday life. But the journey to that point throughout the play has shown me realities which did not exist before. That's what I would say in his defense. And you see women being vindicated. You see, for example, Cordelia in King Lear. She's the one who refuses her father's demand to do what he says. Remember, this is a good example actually, it may answer your question a little bit better. If you remember, King Lear says to his three daughters, "Tell me how much you love me, and I'll give you property according to how much you love me. And the first two daughters, they say, oh, I love you like the sun and the moon and the stars, like melting chocolates and so on, more or less. And they get property in exchange. We come to the third daughter, Cordelia, who doesn't get dressed as a man. She's a soldier later. And she says, nothing. What have you got to say, says King Lear to her, so you can have more property than your sister? Speak, I want to hear you. What have you got to say? She says, nothing. Nothing? She says, what do you mean nothing? Nothing will come of nothing. But the whole play demonstrates that something does come of nothing, when that nothing is the truth. And that something, property and words, hypocritical words, are false. And at the end, of course, in a tragic way, her position, Cordelia, is vindicated. The play shows that she was right. That King Lear was wrong in using power and property and money and all the rest of it, duty, as a form of oppression. And Cordelia resists. Sadly, it's a tragedy. And as you know, in tragedies, everybody dies. In comedies, they get married. That's the difference between comedy and tragedy. It is, basically. That is the difference. In tragedy, they die. In comedy, they get married. So we have both of them. But it's a good point. I suppose Shakespeare is honest enough, Marianne, to say, look, these are difficult questions to answer. I'm raising the questions, and it's for society and for history to deal with the problems. And it's true that history did deal with the problems to some extent. We have a long way to go, as we saw with the law in Scotland. We have equality in many ways, but there are still problems, depending on the culture, depending on the country. But thanks for making me think. Another question.
Yes. Do you think that if he was alive today, he would be like satisfied with what society has become, especially for women?
Well, you can judge from the plays, as I say, with the 37 plays. In every one of those plays, Marianne, he is giving women a voice. Directly or indirectly, he's saying there is an inequality and an injustice here. I think the answer is obvious. You can feel his commitment to women. In fact, to such an extent that many people have said, a man could not have written these plays. He could not have written Rosalind, could not have written Cleopatra. It must be a woman. And of course, that's another theory, that a woman was involved. But it shows you at least just how committed and how convincing his voice on behalf of women is. They are the strong characters. In the comedies, it's all women. All the men characters are flat and boring. All the women characters, from Rosalind to Viola, Caterina, they're all rich, three-dimensional characters, fully alive. And that, in a sense, is the best answer one could give.
Thank you.
You're welcome. Is that it? Have you had enough? Okay, well, thank you. You've been very patient. I hope it was worth coming. I'm sorry I talk rather a lot, but it's because I love the subject, and I hope it will make you love the subject too. See you later. Thank you very much.
Thank you.